Konnichiwa minasan. O genki desu ka? Welcome to the advanced course of my channel. Let's learn Japanese with Eric. In this lesson, we'll study how to form the causative form or the saseru conjugation of Japanese verbs, letting someone do something. Yoroshi desu ka? Hajimemashou. We use the causative form of verbs when expressing that someone allows or causes someone to do something. In other words, the causer allows or causes the causee to do something. We also use the causative form when someone allows or causes something to change state. In other words, the causer allows or causes a thing or object to change state. These are examples of causative sentences. Mary let the children eat fruit. The nurse let the patient take medicine. I won't let you buy a new car. In English, we express the causative form of the verb typically with the word let. In Japanese, this is a verb conjugation. As for particles, the subject or the causer typically takes the particle wa if it is in the main verb, and particle ga if it is within a subordinate clause. In our examples, the causers are Mary, the nurse, and I. The causee would take the particle ni, and we have children, the patient, and you in our examples. The direct object takes the direct object particle wo. In our examples, these are fruit, medicine, and the new car. These are how the particles work if our main verb is transitive, that is, it can take a direct object. If our main verb is intransitive, we have a slightly different arrangement. Intransitive verbs cannot take a direct object, and examples include the verbs to come, go, sit down, and run. Consider this causative sentence with an intransitive main verb. Mary let the children sit down. The verb sit down here does not take a direct object. For this sentence, the causer, Mary, can take the particle wa or ga, and the causee, the children, can take either the particle wo or ni. We use wo when the sentence is a coercive causative sentence, meaning the causer exerted pressure on the causee to do something, and the causee does it against their will. We also use wo when the causee is a thing or inanimate. After all, a thing has no will of its own. We have the choice to use either wo or ni if the sentence is a permissive causative sentence, meaning the causer lets the causee do the action freely. The big requirement when using the causative conjugation is that the causer must be of a higher social rank, or at least equal to the causee. The sentence would be ungrammatical if the causer were socially inferior compared to the causee. So sentences like, the student let the teacher open the door would be unacceptable. Now let's study how to conjugate verbs into the causative form, starting with a category 1 or ru-dropping verb. For example, taberu, to eat. You drop the ru and add saseru. So taberu, will eat, becomes tabesaseru, let someone eat. The resulting verb is a ru-dropping verb, and as such can conjugate just like any other ru-dropping verb. It can conjugate into the basic 10, and we'll have plain and formal forms, affirmative and negative forms, and non-past and past conjugations, and so on. Let's conjugate tabesaseru. Tabesaseru, tabesasemasu, will let someone eat. Tabesaseta, tabesasemashita mean let someone eat, past tense. Tabesasenai and tabesasemasen mean will not let someone eat. Tabesasenakatta and tabesasemasen deshita mean did not let someone eat. Te form is tabesasete and conjunctive form is tabesase. This means that you can form other conjugations with a causative form, such as before, after, permission, prohibition, and so on, as we will see later in our examples. As for the last hiragana changing verbs or category 2 verbs, here are the 9 kinds of endings. Kugusu, bumunu, ru-tsu, and u. These endings change to the A series, turning to kagasa, bamana, ra-ta, and wa, and to these we add seru. The new verb behaves like a category 1 or ru-dropping verb now. For example, the verb kaku, will write. Change the ku ending to the A series, ka, and add seru. So kaku becomes kakaseru, to let someone write. And kakaseru conjugates into the basic 10. Kakaseru, kakasemasu, will let someone write. Kakaseta, kakasemashita, let someone write, past tense. Kakasenai, kakasemasen, won't let someone write. Kakasenakatta, kakasemasen deshita, did not let someone write. Te form is kakasete, and conjunctive form is kakase. As for the 5 commonly used irregular verbs, only suru, kuru, and iku participate in the causative conjugation. Aru and da cannot be used. Suru becomes saseru. For example, benkyou suru, will study, becomes benkyou saseru, which means will let someone study. Kuru becomes kosaseru, and iku becomes ikaseru. All these new verb conjugations behave as ru-dropping verbs during further conjugations. When the main verb is a transitive verb, it doesn't matter whether it is a permissive or coercive causative sentence. We still use the same pattern with particles. Causer wa or ga, causee ni, direct object wo, let do. To indicate that it is a coercive causative sentence, we typically add an adverb such as muriyari, meaning forcibly, into the sentence to indicate that the causee is doing the action against their will. We can also add information like the causee said no or didn't like to, but so on and so forth. Let's look at our examples. Our earlier sentence, Mary will let the children eat fruit. The causer is Mary, causee is the children, and direct object is fruit. To eat is taberu, and its causative form will let eat is tabesaseru. So the whole sentence in Japanese, Mary-san wa kodomo tachi ni kudamono wo tabesaseru. Mary will let the children eat fruit. Mary, the causer, takes particle wa. Kodomo tachi, or children, is the causee, taking the particle ni, and the direct object is kudamono, taking the direct object particle wo. Mary-san wa kodomo tachi ni kudamono wo tabesaseru. Mary will let the children eat fruit. The nurse let the patient take medicine. Causer is the nurse, patient is the causee, and medication is the direct object. The verb is actually to drink medicine. In Japanese, it's nomu. And conjugating to the causative past tense plain form, we get nomaseta, let drink. In Japanese, kangoshi wa kanja-san ni kusuri o nomaseta. The causer, the nurse, takes the particle wa. The patient or kanja is the causee, taking particle ni, and direct object is medication or kusuri, taking the particle wo. Kangoshi wa kanja-san ni kusuri o nomaseta. The nurse let the patient take medication. I won't let you buy a new car. To buy is kau, and conjugating for non-past negative plain form, we get kawasenai. A sentence in Japanese, boku wa kimi ni atarashii kuruma o kawasenai. Causer is I, taking particle wa. Causee is you, taking particle ni, and the direct object is the car or kuruma, taking particle wo. By the way, this sentence is coercive causative, but since the main verb to buy is a transitive verb, the causee can only take the particle ni. Boku wa kimi ni atarashii kuruma o kawasenai. Here's another coercive causative sentence. The teacher forcibly let the students study hiragana. To study is benkyou suru. It is the suru part, an irregular verb, that we conjugate here. Plain past tense of benkyou suru is benkyou saseta. So our full sentence, sensei wa muriyari seito tachi ni hiragana o benkyou saseta. Causer takes wa, direct object takes wo. Causee takes ni only because benkyou suru, to study, is a transitive verb. It is clear it's coercive because of the adverb muriyari, meaning forcibly. The teacher exerted pressure on the students. Sensei wa muriyari seito tachi ni hiragana o benkyou saseta. When the main verb is intransitive, we always need to pay attention to whether the sentence is a permissive causative or a coercive causative. When it's a permissive causative sentence, we can use either particles ni or wo for the causee. If it's a coercive causative sentence, then we can only use wo for the causee. Also, if the causee is an object or inanimate, we can only use the particle wo for it. I will let my friends come to the party. To come is kuru, and its causative formal form is kosasemasu. This is a permissive causative sentence, so I can use either ni or wo for the causee. The sentence in Japanese can be watashi wa tomodachi ni party ni kosasemasu, or watashi wa tomodachi wo party ni kosasemasu. The coach lets the athletes run every morning. Again, this is a permissive causative sentence. To run is hashiru, and its causative formal form is hashirasemasu. The sentence in Japanese, mai asa kochi wa senshu tachi wo hashirasemasu. And we can also use ni for the causee and say, mai asa kochi wa senshu tachi ni hashirasemasu. He let her cry. To cry is naku, and its causative conjugation, past tense formal, is nakasemashita. In Japanese, kare wa kanojo wo nakasemashita. Now, since crying is spontaneous and beyond the will of the causee, besides no one wants to cry, then we can only use the particle wo for the causee, kanojo, because this is a coercive causative sentence. Kare wa kanojo wo nakasemashita. It's more like he made her cry. Mom forcibly let me go to school. Right off the bat, we know it's a coercive causative sentence with an intransitive verb to go. To go is iku. Causative plain past tense form is ikaseta. And the sentence in Japanese, haha wa muriyari boku wo gakkou ni ikaseta. The causee is me or boku, and it can only take the particle wo because this is a coercive sense as indicated by the adverb muriyari, meaning forcibly. Haha wa muriyari boku wo gakkou ni ikaseta. With this charger, I absolutely won't let my cell phone die. To die is shinu, and its negative causative formal is shinasemasen. Now our causee here is cell phone, an object, so we need to use the particle wo for it. In Japanese, このチャージャーで携帯を絶対死なせません。このチャージャーで携帯を絶対死なせません。As we mentioned before, the causative forms behave like root-dropping verbs and can combine with other modalities or conjugations that you've already learned in the past. Let's look at several examples. After the teacher let the students self-introduce, he let them sit down. In this example, we have two verbs that need to be conjugated into the causative. The first one is self-introduce, 自己紹介する, and it is the seru part that we conjugate to the causative, and that would be V-saseru. But since we have after letting the student self-introduce, we conjugate it from saseru to sasete kara, 自己紹介させてから. You can review making the after conjugation in lesson 36. The second verb is to sit down, suwaru, and conjugating to the causative past tense formal, we get suwarasemashita. In Japanese, the whole sentence is, 先生は生徒たちを自己紹介させてから座らせました. Now, because the main verb is intransitive, to sit down, and this is a permissive causative sentence, we can also use the particle ni for the causee and say, 先生は生徒たちに自己紹介させてから座らせました. There's no longer anything particular to do, so it's okay to let everyone go home. This is a permission conjugation combined with causative. To go home is kairu, and conjugating for causative plus permission, we get kairasete mo ii. You can review the permission conjugation in lesson 37. Full sentence in Japanese, 特にすることはもうないので、皆さんを帰らせてもいいです. And because this is a permissive causative sentence, we can also use particle ni for the causee and say, 特にすることはもうないので、皆さんに帰らせてもいいです。Because my child is still little, I don't like him to work part-time. Now this is a combination of causative and don't want to do. To work part-time is アルバイトをする. It's the suru part we conjugate to the causative させる, and converting this to don't want to do, we get させたくない. Now you can review the don't want to conjugation in lesson 47. Full sense in Japanese, うちの子はまだ小さいからアルバイトをさせたくないです。うちの子はまだ小さいからアルバイトをさせたくないです。Please let me think a bit more. Please let me think is a combination of causative and request. To think is 考える. Converting to causative and request, we get 考えさせてください. てください means please do for me, so we don't need to translate me because it's already built into the verb conjugation. You can review making requests in lesson 39, and the whole sentence is もう少し考えさせてください。もう少し考えさせてください。I think it's good if you let the kids play outside more. The verb is a combination of causative and advice. To play is asobu, and conjugating for causative and advice, we get asobaseba i. You can review making advice using the conditional ba conjugation in lesson 62D. The whole sentence in Japanese, 子供たちをもっと外で遊ばせばいいと思います. Now, because the sentence is a permissive causative with an intransitive main verb asobu, we can also use ni for the causee, the kids, and say, 子供たちにもっと外で遊ばせばいいと思います. The more I let him exercise, the stronger his body gets. Our verb is a combination of causative and the more the なんとかなんとか conjugation. To exercise is 運動する or 運動をする. Let's use 運動をする here. So we conjugate the suru part, that turns to させる, then combine with the more the conjugation, we get させればさせるほど. You can review this conjugation in lesson 64. So the whole sentence in Japanese, 彼に運動をさせればさせるほど体が強くなる。彼に運動をさせればさせるほど体が強くなる。People not wearing masks are not allowed to enter the room. Our verb is a combination of causative and prohibition. To enter is 入る, and conjugating for causative and prohibition in the formal style, we get 入らせてはいけません. You can review how to make prohibitions in lesson 38. And the whole sentence, マスクをかけていない人を部屋の中に入らせてはいけません. Now, because this is a coercive causative sense, meaning we're excluding people out who don't wear masks, but they do want to enter, and our main verb is 入る, which is intransitive, we can only use the particle を for 人. マスクをかけていない人を部屋の中に入らせてはいけません. Mom won't let me watch TV until I finish my homework. Let's use a combination of causative and giving-receiving with this. To watch is miru, and conjugating for causative and not giving me the action of letting me watch the TV, we get misasete kurenai. You can review giving and receiving of actions in lesson 69. And the whole sentence translates to 僕が宿題を終えるまで母はテレビを見させてくれない。僕が宿題を終えるまで母はテレビを見させてくれない。Don't make your manager angry. Our verb here is a combination of causative and rough command. To get angry is 怒る, and conjugating for causative and don't, we get 怒らせるな. You can review making rough commands in lesson 41. Our sentence, 課長を怒らせるな. Now, since this is a coercive causative sentence, Getting angry is a spontaneous reaction that is often beyond the control of the causee, and because we have an intransitive verb, we only use the particle wo for the causee, the manager or kacho. And so the sentence is, kacho wo okoraseru na. To summarize, the causative form is used to express that someone allows or causes someone to do something, or when someone allows or causes something to change state. Now here's how you conjugate the causative form. For ru-dropping verbs, drop the ru and replace with rareru. For category 2, last hiragana changing verbs, change the last hiragana to the A series and add seru. And for irregular verbs, only 3 participate. Suru becomes saseru, kuru becomes kosaseru, and iku turns to ikaseru. And once transformed to the causative form, these verbs behave like ru-dropping verbs and can conjugate and combine with other conjugations and modalities. And just a note on the use of particles when using the causative form. If the main verb is a transitive verb, we follow the pattern causer wa or ga, causee ni, direct object wo, and the saseru causative verb. If the main verb is intransitive, we need to distinguish whether it is a permissive or coercive sentence. Permissive is the causee is free to do the action, and in this case, the causee can take either the particle ni or wo. If the sentence is coercive, meaning it is against the causee's will to do the action, then the causee only takes the particle wo. And the last note is that if the causee is inanimate, say like an object or idea, then causee takes the particle wo only. And that ends our lesson on the causative V-saseru conjugation. Our next lesson tackles the causative passive conjugation, V-saserareru. お疲れ様でした。If you're serious about becoming fluent in Japanese, it's important to practice daily, learn grammar, and build up vocabulary. My whole course is designed to give you a strong basic foundation in the Japanese language that you can build solidly upon. So please click like, share, or subscribe and watch the next video in the series. 日本語の勉強に頑張ってください。じゃあ、またね。